Hello and welcome to Conscious Leaders, a podcast from Conscious Working with leaders and their advisors on the ever-changing world of work. I'm Gret Batchelor, your host and founder of Conscious Working. So I suffered burnout at the height of my career. And after 2 years going down the exhaustion funnel, I woke up to the fact that I was the director, the CEO of my own health and well-being. And I finally started to prioritize me and emerged more resilient with greater clarity on my own purpose and with a deep knowing that businesses need to do better. We are now on a mission to embed well-being into the culture of companies and into the everyday flow of work. And we do this through our leadership program called the Excel program, where we partner with C-suite and exec teams to educate them on the 8 habits of a conscious leader. We also do this through Tribe, our holistic well-being membership that empowers leaders to move from burnout, and there's a lot that are going through burnout, to brilliance and beyond. And we also do this through this podcast, Conscious Leaders, where we share stories and speak with leaders who are doing things differently, not least by leading from a different place, but they're succeeding, and they are succeeding and inspiring others along the way. I hope you enjoy this episode. Tune in, and if you like what you hear, hit subscribe and write a review. Hello, Tribesters and Extended Tribe. Welcome to another episode of Conscious Experts. Today, I have the opportunity to welcome Jarvis Smith. Now listen, Jarvis is more conscious than most, and especially one of the most conscious guests that I've been able to welcome onto this show. And this could be conscious experts or conscious leaders, because he's both. He is truly a pioneer in the space of sustainability. And he's an inspiring leader, and he's inspiring millions of people to live more consciously, be more aware of their choices and the impact that they have on the planet. I am so excited for this conversation and to introduce you to Jarvis. So without further ado, welcome to the show. So welcome, Jarvis. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to see you.
I'd love to start with just a bit of background on you. So can you talk to us about you? Give us a little introduction.
Oh gosh, the worst bit is talking about yourself. Well, I am a co-founder of an ethical lifestyle business called My Green Pod. I'm in business with my wife, Katie, who's the editor-in-chief, and a bit like you guys, working in a husband-wife team, which is brilliant. I love it. I'm a father of 5 children. I've got a 15-year-old and a 32-year-old and a couple in between. And I guess my life is focused on trying to educate and inspire people to understand the climate crisis that humanity has created and is continuing to worsen. And my role in business and as a person is to try and, underwrite people's abilities to remember that perhaps this is an opportunity for the species to evolve together. And so I do a bit of spiritual work, and I'm a practicing mystic or shaman or whatever, whatever label people want to put on that. And before getting into business, I trained with a female shaman in England for 14 years. And essentially it was about the qualities of listening to nature, being able to interpret what nature is trying to teach us, with lots of yoga and energy work and things like that involved. So I guess I'm also a musician, a signed recording artist with a band called the Phoenix Rose, and I've just released a single actually. So I'm kind of doing lots of things, all with the same hairstyle, not different hats.
I mean, the man doing it all. It's like very well-rounded, but obviously purpose and that connection to nature and helping inspire others is at root. How did you get into all of this initially? Even like pre-shaman, what was there a pivotal moment that sparked your interest?
There's been a few, right? But I think the strongest two when I was very, very young. So as a child, before I could as a toddler, I remember being in my bedroom, and my house was quite dysfunctional when I was a child. And I remember sitting in a room and an angel standing over me, classic Archangel Michael type angel, white wings, white outfit, not saying anything, just kind of standing stoically over me, keeping me comfort. So I remember that. I have that as a memory. And that being has been around me energetically all of my life. Then that kind of got forgotten as I got a bit older. And then I remember going to see Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back, one of the Star Wars films, and Yoda and Luke Skywalker were having this interaction. And I just knew, and it sounds crazy, but I knew I had the same skills that Yoda was teaching Luke. I just knew that I had those abilities. I don't know how. And so then I forgot about that because I got into my teenage years. I think I was about 8 or 9 around that time that happened. And then I went through my teenage years and went through this cycle of, loving life and drinking as much as I could and taking, substances that perhaps aren't legal in all places. And, and just became a bit wild. And I became so dysfunctionally, living dysfunctionally in that process that it caused me to halt. And I remember this path in the road, like, I'm going to either kill myself or I need to quickly sharpen up. And thankfully, I took the road of sharpening up. And that's when I found my shamanic yoga teacher. And actually, pre that, I did a bit of Reiki. So I remember being up all night with a friend of mine. We used to stay up all night just being naughty. And he said to me, he was telling me about Reiki, and I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. I'm going to try that. So I went out the very next day to find someone, and I went for a Reiki session, and it was all right. And on my third Reiki session, I got this amazing feeling of just joyful bliss, like just ecstatic feeling. And it opened a door for me. And then and that was in my early 20s. And then I became questing for spiritual fulfillment. That's when I met my yoga teacher and then trained with her. So there's lots of different entry points. And thankfully, mine happened in my early 20s when I really consciously got on that spiritual journey. So I'm sorry for such a long-winded answer.
No, but what's really interesting is that, as you were saying, I hit that moment where there was that path. I needed to choose one. I literally had goosebumps all over my skin. It was like,
oh, nice.
Something that just hit a chord there.
Yeah.
And do you think that, we all have these moments in life, and it's whether we choose to take these signs as signs or just continue on as normal?
Yeah, I mean, I do definitely think that we all given an opportunity. I'm just turning my do not disturb button off. So I think what's happening now is that we are having this on a collective, all of us are having this awakening moment together. But I think what's happened up to now is a lot of people get that dis-ease, that illness, that it could be cancer, it could be a car crash, it could be all kinds of things, which I do believe is our higher consciousness, our higher selves giving us an opportunity to make a life-changing decision in that moment. And we get slightly less intense windows of seeing this. For example, when a mother becomes a parent, there's this real shift in consciousness that happens. And sometimes for the dads as well, but definitely more so for the mums. You suddenly want to be a different being. You want to live in the world in a different way. You have a responsibility to something that's not yours. And so I think there's a few different ways this manifests itself in a human experience. But yes, is the answer.
Can we talk a little bit about your experience on Dumped? Because this also seemed like something quite pivotal.
Yeah, massive.
For not just you, probably
yeah.
For many that watched you on
Dumped. I don't know what it was for anybody else, but I certainly know it had an impact on me. So that was my career-defining moment. Yeah. So I've always been quite a good advertising salesman, and then I became a creative person within publishing environment, helping brands to create campaigns. And I got a call one day. I was in the office working for publishers. I got a call from a TV researcher from Channel 4 saying, we really like you. We've seen something that you did before. We think you'd be a great personality. We're doing an eco-observational documentary. It's not Big Brother. It's not like that kind of sleaze. If it is sleaze, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
You know
Don't
what I mean?
worry.
Yeah. Sorry, not quite sleaze. That's the wrong word, but yeah. Would you like to be on it? And I said, well, it sounds amazing. We didn't know where we were going. All we were told is we were going to be living on an extreme environment. And it turned out that we had to live on a landfill for 3 weeks with nothing. So we had to build somewhere to eat, somewhere to sleep, somewhere to shower, somewhere to go to the toilet, and all out of other people's waste. And it had a huge effect on me, because what this was, it was the opposite end to any shopping platform or high street. It was the dark side to what we call consumerism. And it was essentially everything that we were throwing away. There is no away. You can't throw things away because it all goes back into the planet in some way, shape or form, or into the atmosphere now if it's being burnt. And it was a massive wake-up call for me. And there was this one pivotal moment. 3 weeks in, we're in our 3rd week. We'd built somewhere lovely to sleep and shower and go to. We'd built all that stuff. And so it become home. The local dustbin truck or refuge truck, if this is going out to Americans, would go around the streets, collect the rubbish and take it to the landfill, came and dumped it on our site. We had to dress up in overalls and mask and protective clothing, you know, and siphon through this stuff and decide what could be composted, what could be recycled, what had to go to landfill. So after about 15, 20 minutes or so of doing this, I began to feel headachy, toxicy, you know, that worst hangover type feeling. And I said to the camera, I can't do this anymore. It's making me feel sick. I need to go and release this energy. I went and lied on the earth. Because of my shamanic training, I knew how to release, you know, kind of toxic energy in my energy field. So I did that, release. And just what I do to replenish is take this huge breath up from the earth to be kind of, you know, restored, if you like. Took a deep breath in. And as I did it, I had got like this kind of bolt of lightning type moment. I heard these words audible, like within my inner ear. How you are feeling now is how I feel. I'm sick and I need your help to tell the world. And I just felt like the earth had spoken to me. It was a proper, like, you know, Moses type situation. And I just like, wow. And I immediately committed to camera that I dedicate my life's work to inspiring and educating people about the issue, which we now know is a catastrophic climate crisis. So that was in 2007.
Yeah. And now 2022, and it's just getting worse.
Yeah.
But there is more awareness. So I'd love to know, what was sustainability like then, and how has it evolved to now?
Yeah, so it's a brilliant question. So back then, no one really understood even what sustainability was. There was conservationists that really understood what sustainability was. But there were a few companies out there that were offering, I guess, more sustainable options, you know, the Interfaces, the Patagonias, the, you know, Ecovas, brands like that. But there wasn't a multitude of brands. Now there's a whole, you know, lifestyle ecosystem out there. It's amazing. So it was tough, but because I'd had the profile from the show, and I was able to leverage the fact that I'd just been on this massive Channel 4 TV show that was about, you know, recycling, actually, ultimately, it is what it was about. I was able to get through to speak to owners of companies, and they would give me the airtime to have a conversation. And so we launched a magazine off the back of it with the publishers that I was working for then. Then I took the project to National Geographic. Within 2.5 years, we got a deal with them. We launched the biggest ethical lifestyle magazine the world had ever seen. And now we still do an extension of that, but with our own brand, which is My Green Pod. So I think what I've noticed in the last 10 years is that it was very slowly growing. And in the last 3 years, it's exponentially grown. It's like the curve has gone like that and just gone like that, which is exactly the same curve as the carbon emissions.
Wow, that's interesting.
Right. So it's been trickling up and up and up and up and up. And in the last few years, it's just gone zoop. So it's massively, massively peaked. The issue with it now is if we don't actually peak to the point that we cannot go any further within the next 2 years and decline by 45% by 2030, we are going to be heading into uncharted territory of temperatures rising. We are, if we continue on this trajectory that we're on now, we are heading to not 1.5, which is the unstable level. We're heading to 3 degrees temperature rise, double what we are supposed to be hitting. So what's happened is, and I'm sorry that I'm digressing, but I'm just giving a bit of context to your question.
No, this is great.
What's happening is that because business owners like you and I have been in one business and realize that's quite actually a toxic industry, they're getting into the most amazing, disruptive, sustainable, ethical, eco, all kinds of businesses. And actually there's a whole new paradigm being created. The problem is that our economic structure is still built on the old economic system, which essentially is fossil fuels. The biggest crisis is energy. Like you have to start with energy, which is around climate. But the second equal important aspect of that is biodiversity and ecosystems. And actually, humans are trying to fix the climate issue with the energy, fossil fuels and everything else. I actually believe the real, true healing opportunity is with nature and ecosystems and biodiversity. Why? Because if we get out of the way, nature's brilliant at doing what it does.
So basically, we need to continue start to rewild the land, and practice more regenerative practices, more regenerative farming.
Yeah.
What else can people do?
Well,
what can individuals do, and what can businesses do?
It's interesting. You said we have to rewild the land. We don't have to do anything. The land will rewild itself if we can get out of the way. However, that's not strictly true, because of course we can stimulate rewilding by planting, and there is some management involved and getting trees back in the land. But it is interesting you said that, because that's a human condition. We're addicted to think that we can fix it,
that we can control things.
We can't. We can't. Clearly, we're messing it up. So, I'm sorry. What was the other part of the question?
Regenerative farming. So my brother's actually works on a farm, and he's helping transition it to regenerative farming practices.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So are there other things that can take place? And I guess the difference between what can individuals do versus what businesses can do.
Yeah, I think it's gone too far now. Science has proven that what individuals can do, it's not going to have enough of an impact per se. So, for example, if you go out and rewild your little piece of garden, is that going to have an impact in the quick enough time? No. However, individuals with collective, each and every one of us making all the conscious decisions, of course, that's going to have a huge impact. So I think the biggest thing we can do is transition to 100% renewable energy as quickly as possible. And the biggest thing that we need to do is change our lifestyles, reduce and restore. So what does that mean? It means reducing the things that we don't actually need and really focusing on the things, essential things, just for the next 7 or 8 years collectively. But whilst we're doing that, is trying to restore the environment as much as we possibly can by buying into brands and companies and products that care about planet before profit. And there's lots of examples of that. The problem is that most of us are still caught up in doing and living in exactly the same way we were, and it can't continue.
And how can we change that?
Okay, so down to the nitty-gritty details is that ultimately we need to understand that nature is our teacher. We need to understand that we are not the clever species here, that nature is the clever species. So we can, if you like, give our greatest source of change an opportunity to do that. So we need to get out of the way, right? And that means lots of things. It means working from home more. It means traveling less. It means, stopping buying the stuff that we don't need. It means, lobbying our governments to, care about nature and biodiversity as much as the climate. It means spreading the word as much as possible to your own immediate networks. It means becoming a leader and a transformational leader and really stepping up to become a voice for the very issues that need to change. And anything else you can think of.
And you work with a lot of businesses.
Yep.
How do you work with the leaders? What's your process of working with leaders of businesses to help create some of these changes?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, there's a lot of leaders out there now that realize the problem that we're in and want to massively do something about it. And these could be, leaders of great big organizations or networks or communities or charities, right? So what I try and do is I try and give them the experiential connection with nature so that they can truly, truly work in co-creation with nature. And so how do we do that? We run retreats. We help organizations understand the materials or ingredients within their products and what can damage, ecosystems and what isn't. So that's on a very practical level. So essentially, it's trying to help people remember that perhaps we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Perhaps we all engaged in this as a game for us to be able to evolve. And if people can start to look at things from that kind of philosophy or level of consciousness, then it changes everything. So we are working with leaders in a way to help shift their consciousness and evolve it to give them a level of awareness that they can then understand the bigger picture.
Something stood out just about connection too there, like connecting obviously with a group of other individuals within, like-minded individuals, other business leaders that might be going down the same path, but also this finding that connection with earth, with nature.
Yeah.
And when you're living in a big city, you don't necessarily have that experience on a day-to-day basis.
No.
So do you take people outside their environment?
So what I always say to people that live in a city, and I was working with somebody that worked with the UN actually, and she lived in a big apartment block in New York, right up. She's like, I'm so disconnected from nature. So what have you got in your house? Oh, it's a plant. Okay, well go and connect with the plant, right? So she did. And then I said to her, well, think about the materials in your fabrics of the clothes that you're wearing. Think about the materials in your sofa or your bed linen or anything like that. Where does it come from? It comes from nature, right? So suddenly you're able to connect with nature anywhere because we are nature. Everything we've eaten, apart from some of the awful processed stuff that is clearly man-made. But, if you're eating relatively healthy, even an apple or whatever, you're always able to connect with nature. So what nature's telling me is that actually, if we can remember the connection and just begin to respect her without trying to do anything, she will fix this problem very quickly for us. But right now, she's pushing us to a brink so that we can have a collective shamanic awakening so that we can evolve. That's how I understand it to be.
Yeah. Two things stood out there. One, when I was going through my burnout, it got so bad that I got a chronic illness. And it was like my body telling me, you've got to stop. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm going to force you to stop.
Exactly.
And almost like Mother Earth is doing the same thing.
Not almost, is doing exactly the same thing. Yeah. The difference is that those of us like you and I and lots of other, kind of quite advanced transformational people in the leadership space, we had our awakenings quite early. Why? So we could be a beacon of light for the transition that's happening on a mass scale now. We are literally being asked to step up, to get on the big stage and be a light so that people know where to fly to.
Mm. Do you feel like that takes a lot of your energy away sometimes?
It's a tricky balance with family. It is I'm a real doer. I really like to get stuff done. I have a great team, angelic, spirit guide type team that take on a lot of work for me, but I still have to show up in the physical world. I have a practice that I do daily. It's a maintenance practice, a kriya, a bit of yoga, a bit of breathing, a bit of meditation. if I don't do that every day, I get overly stretched and begin to feel stressed. So I just make sure I do it every day. Yeah. So the only thing it challenges me with, I think, is I would love to just be hanging out with my wife and kids all the time, but I'm just not programmed to do that. I'm just not. That wasn't in my blueprint as a complete package. It was a part of a package. But I do run my own business. I do take my daughter to school. I'm always there in the evenings when my kids go to bed. We've got a lovely, lovely quality work-life balance.
But you know that your part of your blueprint is to spread this message and to help.
I was born with an understanding, a blueprint that is to help people awaken in this time that we're in. I know it now really clearly. I knew back then I was born with something, but didn't really know what it was. And now I know.
Yeah. And then those people that you come onto your retreats and you have this spirited awakening retreat, I think it's called.
Yeah, the retreats are called Spirited Business and Leadership now, because what I found is that I'm doing business with lots of people in the sustainability space, that most of them are doing business with heart and from heart before head, which is amazing. But there was still something missing in their lives. And I was like, okay, well, if we can help them remember that spiritual connection, that intuition level where we're working in symbiotically with all of the information that's available to us, not just what's in here, then these people are going to have a much better business and leadership experience for themselves and for their communities. So that's how it was born. It was like, okay, well, let's take these people on a spiritual journey, asking nature to support us with the guidance in that. So really it's a spiritual journey, but not everybody understands what spirituality is. So therefore you have to just put a little bit of dressing on it. So it's a bit easier for people to understand. Yeah. Then when they come, they have the experience, they connect with all kinds of stuff, and then they're off. And then it's just a case of maintaining that. So we built a community. I'm in my 5th year doing it now.
Amazing.
And hopefully you're going to come and join us. For the
I'm really hoping to. I'm more committing to,
yes,
because it sounds like something that I need and will help me get to the next step of where I'm trying to support others.
Yeah, exactly. And we all need each other. We can't do it on our own.
It sounds like, the journey that you went on, you're obviously then supporting others to figure out their own blueprint so that they can then go spread the word, so they can inspire others. And it's that ripple effect. So even though, changing my coffee cup to a keep cup isn't necessarily going to make the difference, it's just that small change will maybe inspire someone else to do something else, and just create a much bigger,
absolutely,
more momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. What we've got to do, and you asked me that question, what can we do on an individual level? And of course we can all do stuff, and of course, but it's just not happening quickly enough. So now we need the perfect storm of individuals taking responsibility, businesses which are now stepping up. The really tricky thing is getting governments and nation states and the world global leaders. That's the tricky area, but they have to listen to us. We have the power. We're the numbers. In essence, they actually should be in our, singing to our call, right?
What are the 3 things that you want to accomplish in the next 3 years?
Okay, in the next 3 years, we need to make the climate issue. We need to completely turn around the climate issue. With the impact that we're having on it, right? So I want to make sure that we can galvanize all of the people that have power to get on the same page, right? Now that's quite a tricky thing to do, but we do now work with, Greta Thunberg and the Fridays for Futures movement and MAPA, the most affected people around the world. We work with the UN, so there's some big entities that we work with. That to me is the most important thing, is that we need to spread the word in terms of what people can do. That is not about making money or selling a business or profit or exiting or any of that, because none of us can focus on that stuff anymore. The issue is way too big.
And what does well-being mean to you?
Well-being is a state of life or living that you are in harmony and vibrating at the highest possible level that you can you can live. So it's about joyfulness. It's about feeling happy. It's about, not having any aches or pains in the physical body. It's about being spiritually connected. And well-being is a full holistic experiential way of being human.
Thank you for that, Jarvis. The perfect answer to end on. I really appreciate you taking your time. I know you're super busy with so many different things, so many different hats or hairstyles, as you said in the beginning. So I appreciate you taking your time and so much wisdom and insight into such an important topic and issue. And
I was just going to say thank you. It's been an absolute delight speaking to you. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, hopefully this is the first of many, and I am hoping to get to your retreat in November. For people that want to find out more about you and My Green Pod, where should they go?
Okay, great. So look, anybody that wants to live a more sustainable lifestyle, mygreenpod.com is the place. So literally my green, the color pod, pod.com. And for the spirited business and leadership programs, you can find me on my own website, which is jarvissmith.com. And I think, the website, My Green Pod, is really important because we've done all of the groundwork for anybody to tap into to be stimulated for change. Like there's 6,000 articles, there's 3,500 products. We're not saying buy from us, but at least clear yourself up to know what to get, because we've done all the hard work. They're all curated, handpicked by my wife, Katie, and I. We've done that over the last 12 years.
Amazing. That's perfect, because there is obviously a lot of greenwashing out there. And this is a resource that people can go to really understand what is it, which are the true products that are good for us and good for the planet. So
yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
We call it a toxic-free lifestyle. That's our kind of model. Plastic is not the issue. It's the ingredient. It is an issue, but it's not just the issue. It's the ingredients that are in these products, who owns the companies, and the list goes on and on and on. So we've taken all of that away and made it really easy and put them all in one place.
Perfect. We'll make sure to share all of that on the notes so that people can easily access it. Brilliant. So thank you again, Jarvis. I'm hoping this is the first of many. I really appreciate it.
I'd love to have more chats with you. It's fantastic. Thank you very, very much. And maybe we can get you on our podcast.
Oh, fabulous. I'd love to take part. Thank you.
Yeah, so we've got My Green Podcast. I think we've got 13 episodes. We're just going through our second round of series now. So anybody that listens to podcasts, you can just, search for My Green Podcast.
Cool. Yeah, great. We'll also link that up. That's perfect.
Yay.
Yay. All good things. Support and community. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And for all our tribe members out there watching, thank you, and be here and be well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next episode. And by the way, if you like what you heard, then hit subscribe to receive all the future episodes. Better yet, if you're feeling inspired by what you just heard, then leave a review letting me know who else you might want to hear from on Conscious Leaders. To learn more about the show, about conscious working, or tribe, our membership, head over to our website, consciousworking.co. Yes, it's just CO, so consciousworking.co. And for those of you that might be suffering burnout, we have a great free resource, the Beat Burnout Guide. It's a really simple assessment with tools for you to take action now. Check it out in the show notes so that you can access it immediately. See you in the next episode. Be here and be well.